Well, the women's Under-19 T20 Challenger Trophy is over, but I'm here with another video in which I'll talk to you about some of the batters who impressed me through the tournament. As I've mentioned before, the conditions in Goa were slow, it was hard for stroke making, the spinners really dominated proceedings, and the 120 run mark wasn't crossed more than 3 or 4 times. The batters found it really tough going, which means strike rates really suffered through the tournament. However, there were some batters who really stood out, and I'm going to talk to you about 5 of those batters. 5 of the top batters, not in terms of runs scored, because of course you can see that via the stats. I'm going to talk to you about 5 batters who really impressed me with the approach, with their overall game as well. So at number 5 is Mumbai's Hurligala. Hurligala played for India D. She's very strong off the front foot. I'm tempted to call her a bit of a front foot bully. She has a very, very positive approach, always looking for runs. She runs really well between the wickets, loves to drop and run as well. So she's always pushing the scoreboard forward. And it's her running that makes her really hard to set a field for. Because she drops and runs, sometimes the fielders come into the circle, but she has the power to chip over the top. She has the power to clear the boundary as well. She plays with a really fearless attitude. I remember during the interstate tournament, she came out and smoked her second ball for a 6 over long gone. So she comes in and she uses her feet really well. Like I said, runs well between the wickets, has a truckload of power. And she was used by India D in the Challenger Trophy as, in the top order. She got a move on. She used the power play really well in those first 2 games when they sent her up the order. And then when she came slightly lower down, number 4 or 5, she did manage to finish off the innings really well as well. I'm interested to see how she's used through the quadrangular series. I do feel like she'll be a very, very useful middle order batter, maybe even a really good finisher, because she does have the timing. She is very proactive. She does have the power as well. So she's not as good as off the back foot. I think that's something that she will have to develop, especially if they're going to take her to South Africa. But Hurligala was someone who really, really impressed me in Goa. And at number 4, another batter from India D, Shikha. Very, very powerful. Of course, everyone knows about the match-winning knock she played against India A. She's a very powerful batter, another player who really dominates on the front foot. She loves to score through the leg side. I think that's her preferred region of scoring. Not that she can't score through the offside. She does loft well over cover. She drives really well off the front foot as well. Can use the pace and late cut. But it's the leg side where she scores a really high percentage of her runs. She likes to take the aerial route. And like I said, very, very powerful, really smokes the ball. She goes at the bowlers, likes to come down the track to the spinners. But one thing that really interests me about Shikha is that, like I said, slow surfaces in Goa, she batted with a cap. And the ball really wasn't climbing, even though she faced the likes of Shabnam and Titas, who did get the ball to rise to waist height, to chest height even. The ball kind of died off the surface or lost pace off the surface, which meant that Shikha had time to adjust when the ball was dug in. But I do feel like she could be tested against the short ball, and hopefully in Visakhapatnam, where the tracks will hopefully have a bit more pace, she may be tested there, and that will make for some good viewing. At number 3 is Haryana's Sonia Mendhiya, and I have spoken about Sonia's likeness to Shafali Verma, whether it's the height, the presence at the crease, the time she has to play the ball, or just the general similarities in the game, the power down the ground, the finesse behind point. She has, she moves around the crease like Shafali as well. But there's one thing that Sonia does really well that I feel like Shafali hasn't quite yet gotten into her game, which is she runs really, really well between the wickets. Sonia just has this ability to find the singles. She drops and runs, and she's able to hit the gaps quite easily as well. She doesn't always look to hit the cover off the ball, so that's something that I feel like makes her a really complete batter. She's good off the back foot as well, cuts really, really well. And she just has this presence at the crease, like I mentioned earlier. She seems to be like a very, very calm character, almost like, she never seems to be in a hurry. Again, that likeness to Shafali. It's almost like when she's at the crease, everything slows down. she does have this innate self-belief that comes through when she's batting. So someone I am hugely excited by. She scored at a fair clip. She played a couple of really, really important innings for India A. Again, very strong down the ground, can clear the boundary with ease, likes to use her feet to the spinners, also slogs sweeps really well, likes the cut and paddles well as well. So she does feel like a really complete batter. Of course, I'm sure there's plenty of room for improvement, but she has all the elements that make her seem like she's going to be quite successful in the future. At number 2 is a batter who I think most people will just assume walks in at number 1, Shweta Sehrawat. I've spent the last month and a half kind of ogling over Shweta's offside play. She throws her hands at anything wide. She's really good on the cut, good on the cover drive. Is able to drive on the up as well. She scores a bunch of her runs through the offside, between third man and backward point. One of the other things that really stood out about Shweta, she is a classical batter, very solid technique, good off the back foot and the front foot, like I said. But she was one of the few batters who, through the tournament, actually took advantage of the power play, of the field restrictions. She hit over the top very early. She found the gaps and found the boundaries very early on in her innings. She's not a power player. She relies a lot on timing. But again, she does have this gift to be able to send the ball over the rope. Doesn't look like she's absolutely smashing the cover off it, but it just sails over the boundary. But if there's one criticism I have of Shweta, it's that she doesn't score as much off the off her legs. Straighter lines, she gets tucked up, especially against pace, and I think that's what India ceded really well to her. The pacers bowled really straight lines, which meant she wasn't able to score as quickly. Against spin, her options are to come down the track. She also sweeps well. So she's kind of able to negotiate spin, straighter lines against spin, but when pace comes straight at her, she hasn't quite developed a pull or a flick off her legs. So it will be interesting to see going forward how teams adjust to that, because like I said, she stays very leg side of the ball, a lot like Laura Wolfart, to access that area between cover and backward point. At number 1 is my absolute favorite batter from this competition, the wicketkeeper batter from Bengal, Hrishita Basu. She was easily the most impressive batter through the Challenger Trophy. And while Sehrawat was the highest run getter, I did feel like she batted in probably some of the easier phases, when the ball was hard and new. On a slowish track, it was coming onto the bat. So she kind of had that advantage. But Basu came in lower down the order, and she played against the slower bowlers. She played a chunk of her innings against the slower bowlers. But her approach in every innings was by far the best. She's extremely proactive. She brings a great energy to the crease, to the middle, and it's very infectious because she really pushes between the wickets. She's very small built. She sweeps really well, like most players from Bengal. She paddles very well. And she just gets herself into positions that allow her to access different pockets in the field. And while she's very strong, square of the wicket on both sides, she also uses her feet well to spin. And she's very, very tiny, but she hit a 6 in this tournament, absolutely threw herself at the ball, charged down the track, and absolutely whacked a straight 6 and celebrated with a fist bump after that. So she is one of my favorite players. She really came in and injected a lot of energy into the innings for India A. The thing about Hrishita is she seems supremely confident, even when you chat to her. There is the self-confidence that comes across, like she knows her game, she knows what she needs to do, and she's not too worried about how it looks. Like I said, her energy is really infectious. She pushes the fielders on the boundary. She pushes her partner between the wickets. Really loud calls almost sometimes confuses the fielders in the ring as well. And she played the role of the finisher extremely well. I'm really interested to see how she goes in that quadrangular series, how she will be used, and how she'll adjust to those wickets, to those roles, and to bowlers that she's never faced before, wearing India colours, which she, I'm sure, is very, very excited about. So these were my top batters from the Women's Under-19 T20 Challenger Trophy in Goa. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you think I've missed out on someone who you think was potentially the best, or someone you think that we should all keep an eye on going into the quadrangular series. Remember, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll continue to bring you some insights about these players and some Kuti stories as well.